In this video lesson, we are going to talk about complementary and supplementary. And so we have our 2.2 day 1, a couple more angle relationships. So complementary are two angles that add up to 90, and supplementary are two angles that add up to 180, and they do not have to be touching. They can be just two separate angles, but they can touch. So one way that I remember complementary versus supplementary is the C can turn into a 9 for 90. The S can turn into an 8 for 180. So that's one way to kind of maybe help you remember the difference of those two new vocab words. So these two are going to add up to 90, which means they would be complementary. And then down below here, these together would add up to 180, so they would be supplementary. So I want you to go ahead and do these other two and go ahead and put on the lines whether or not they are complementary or supplementary. So push pause and try them, and then push play to check when you're ready. So we should have complementary and then supplementary. In the last lesson, we talked about linear pair, and a linear pair are two angles that are formed, they form a line, and if they form a line, they add up to 180, and we just learned that two angles that add up to 180 are supplementary, so a linear pair would also be considered supplementary. So this next example, we're going to do by putting in our 8x plus 10 here in for AF, into the right angle, that would help. AFB, so this one, 8x plus 10. And then our AFE is 6x plus 30. So these two together form a line or a linear pair, so they add up to 180. So we're not going to set them equal. We're going to add them and set them equal to 180. So 8x plus 10 plus 6x plus 30, and that is going to be 14x plus 40 equals 180, and then we're going to solve. So 14x is equal to 140, and divide by 14 to get x is 10. So back to our thoughts on complementary and supplementary. If this says we have complementary angles, and we know one of them is 40, complementary is 90, and we would just subtract the one we do know to figure out what the unknown other angle would be. And this next one would be supplementary, so 180, and we would subtract the 125, and we would end up with 55 degrees. Next, we have one that we want to kind of read through slowly, and then we want to underline any keywords like complementary. And so we have two complementary angles. The measure of the larger angle is 5 more than, meaning we add 5, 4 times the measure of the smaller angle. So we're just going to take 4 times that x because we don't know the smaller angle. And so 4x and then plus 5 is one angle. The other angle is x, so we add them together. The total is 90 since it's complementary. So x plus 4x is 5x, and now we can go ahead and solve a two-step equation. 5x is equal to 85, divide by 5, and we get our smaller angle is 17 degrees. And we can find our larger one by either taking 90 minus the 17, or we could plug it back into that 4x plus 5, and we get 73. Our last one is supplementary, and the difference between the two angle measures is 25 degrees. So if difference means subtraction, then I'm going to subtract the two angles, and I'm going to get 25. So when I subtract, well, the smaller one, let's pick x because we don't know it. And then supplementary means how would I find the other angle? If I have x, I would subtract that x from 180. So this is one angle, this is the other angle, and if I subtract them, I get 25. And I technically don't really need my parentheses in there, just kind of wanted to separate the two angles. but there's no distributing. So negative 1x makes negative 2x. And then I'm going to now solve. Subtract 180. Negative 2x is equal to negative 155, and divide by negative 2. X is 77.5. And then I find my other one by subtracting from 180. So 102.5 degrees is my other angle.